All right, so this is a suggestion via a donation. The name of the video is How Much Money Do Americans Need to Be Comfortable? Let's check it out.
The average American says they need to earn $233,000 a year to be financially comfortable. But
that sounds a little bit high, guys. Just gonna be honest.
2021, American workers on average made only $75,203 annually.
Americans are sort of looking at how much money they would like to have to be financially secure, and that ends up being basically 3 times what the average income is in this country. And to be essentially wealthy or really successful, it's magnitudes above that.
72% of Americans said they weren't financially secure given their current finances. And more than a quarter of Americans said they'll likely never be financially secure.
By the numbers, their debt is lower and their savings are higher coming out of the pandemic, but they're more anxious about what's going to happen next, if they have job stability, if they're going to be able to have secure retirement.
With well over half of Americans living paycheck to paycheck, many are failing to meet some of their modest financial goals.
There are actually millions of people struggling. It's not something that people want to talk about, but if you're in a place where your financial security feels super precarious, you're not alone. And it's not your fault.
So how did it become so difficult to be financially secure in a
Our money is not valued the same, number one. And the government just keeps printing money on top of the money, which is then obviously in return helping inflation, corporate greed also. But that's pretty much the issue that we have.
America. And what can you do about it? Let's do the
Yeah, but the majority of America can't do that. If you think about let's go 5 years. 5 years ago, people could have probably done that 30% of their income directly towards, rent. But now, no chance. Like if we look back, even at the numbers that they just showed, if they're referring to $3,308 as take-home pay, but the average rent is $2,000. That doesn't make any sense, bro.
Median mortgage payment for a 2,400 square foot house was $1,957
Mortgage is more than rent now
per month.
We've seen some migration or mobility around the country where some people say, I'm living in a high-cost state like California or New York. We really want to sort of pack up and go to an area that's less expensive. And
yeah, they're going to like Florida, Atlanta, Houston. Some people are even going to Mexico, right? Mexico is definitely the come up, guys. Like if you're living in like San Francisco and you can afford to live in San Francisco and out of nowhere you're now working remotely, bro, go to Mexico. That's where you need to be, all right? Like think of how much you're going to spend in Mexico while still being able to work in America, San Francisco, make that San Francisco money. You're paying like probably $600-700 in rent, and that's you're probably living somewhat fancy. Okay, I'm just going to go ahead and point that out. With your car still, you can go to Southern California if you need to, whenever you need to, right? And that's what a lot of people are doing. A lot of them are going to Florida, and that wasn't smart. Just to say the least, it wasn't smart, bro. Insurance companies are leaving Florida. Now you went and bought property that's going to probably get wrecked by a random hurricane, guys. I feel bad for them, obviously, right? But
and one of the ironies of that is those places that were cheaper before are now becoming more expensive.
Absolutely.
Americans spend on average $690.75 on food every month, according to the latest data from the Bureau of Labor Statistics. That amount is significantly higher than any of USDA's estimated grocery bills, including more generous and liberal food plans. Add the out-of-pocket health expenditures that cost the average Americans $96.42 every month, and you get a total expense of $2,816.17 for renters, and $2,744.17 for homeowners. That amount already accounts for 85% of the median take-home pay for average American renters.
And what is
over
44?
82% for an average homeowner. This is excluding other essential expenses like transportation, childcare, and debt payments.
Many Americans.
And that right there is $52,800 a year. And that's going to be obviously before taxes. But now keep this in mind, guys. If these people here making 52 are absolutely, they're underwater for the most part, guys. Even people making 100 are right now like saying it's crazy, guys. Just keep that in mind. It's crazy for everyone.
Really struggling with just the increase of costs of living and food and housing. Utility bills have gone up. Car insurance has gone up. Homeowners insurance has gone up. And how can they pay for them, but also meet other goals that they have too?
Guys, I don't even drive. Guys, I work all the time. This is what I do, right? I'm always on screen. And I can tell you right now, my car insurance is crazy. I wish I didn't need it.
Budgeting experts advise
I wish I
Americans
didn't
to
need
spend
it.
just 50%
I
of
think it's
their
like
net income
$1,100.
on essentials, 30%
Multiple-
on wants,
they're multiple
and 20%
vehicles, so.
on savings or paying off debt.
We see that allocation shifting significantly where people are spending 75% of their take home just on needs, which leaves
Right.
very little for wants
saving.
and very little for saving for your financial future. So
Right.
depending upon where you live and of course your income, many Americans really cannot meet that target allocation.
So what's going to happen when everyone turns 65 and then let's say there's no more Social Security? Let's just say that, right? Pensions are going away, because all these companies are now saying, oh, 401k is better. I'll match you at 1% or something ridiculous, right? While also our IRAs are based off the stock market for the most part, right? Well, no, they are based off the stock market, right? S&P 500. And that's not looking too good neither, guys. So what exactly is going to happen to these people when they get to the age of 65 and they have nothing in savings? They've had no retirement. They're just going to have to keep working until they expire. Guys, that is not how human beings should be living, bro. Right? There has to be some type of joy outside of like work. I think we all need to achieve something like that, guys. I would hope that we could all achieve that one day. But with the recent numbers of we need $2.8 million saved up in a bank in order to kind of retire seriously. 2.8 million, divided by let's say 30 years. That's $93,000 a year, and that's living very well. I'm sure you can kind of probably do a little bit less, but it's still a crazy number, right? Like just to make $50,000, you need to have $1.5 million in the bank, and that's not talking about things inflating, right? And that's still struggling based off of this number here that we're looking at here on the screen, guys, right? That's literally less than $4,000 before taxes every single year. That's if you're taking money off of the interest of whatever high yield the money is being stored in, but.
So much of managing your financial life in America today is like drinking from a fire hose. I think many households are not able to show up and impose a framework of their own design onto their finances. Many are still in this reactionary space where they're just trying to figure out how to make ends meet.
Right.
The Federal Reserve has implemented 11 interest rate hikes to combat inflation since March 2022.
Bro, look at that. Guys, this was basically a free money period. Unfortunately, I wasn't even in America during this time, guys. Right? This whole section right here, I couldn't take advantage of the free money era, guys, right? Then it dropped, and look at that beauty. And now, I think it's actually higher. I think it's much higher than that. It's above 7, I think. But, all right. Well, that's mortgage, at least.
But more than a third of Americans said rising interest rates kept them from financial comfort.
Right.
Higher interest rates really can stand in the way of affordability for many financial activities or decisions that people want to engage in, and home purchases is sort of at the top of that list.
Right.
Look at the person who was going to buy a house that was, let's say, $375,000 2 years ago. Their monthly payment would have been less than $2,000. Now it's about $3,400.
Yeah.
And it's the same house, right? The only thing that has changed is the interest rate.
Purchasing a car is more expensive. It's more expensive to maintain a balance on a credit card.
Those variable interest rates, guys.
With the new offers
By
for
the
a
sound
credit
of
card,
it.
even for the best qualified individual being at 20.5%, and other people are paying closer to 30.
The cost of capital is going up very rapidly. And
yeah, guys, because I was like, listen, I've spent my entire life working on my credit. My credit score is I think it's like 820 or something like that, and so I'm generally a well qualified individual for credit, and when I saw the the interest, the APR, basically, I was just like, guys, this is wild. This is wild. And guys, keep in mind, I'm one of those people who use credit cards exclusively to build credit. That's the only reason I ever have to ever use a credit card. I'll never use something like, for example, if I use a credit card, it's basic. Whatever I buy with it is paid off before the date, before the billing date. I don't know. It's one of those dates that happen like before, I guess the reporting date, whatever it is, or whatever the card is, right? And everything is always paid off before then, so we're back at zero type of thing, guys. That's the only time I would ever use a credit card, is just to build credit. But when I saw those rates, I was just like, this is crazy. Because I know obviously there are people who live off of this until like the next pay period, if that makes any sense. And those people are getting railroaded if they're not paying that credit card off every single month. But that interest rate is how do you even maintain that?
And many of the
it's not maintainable.
Toeholds we saw for lower income households was because they were having access to credit and to home loans and to other things in a relatively flat economy where they still had a good job market. The ability to access credit, both for small businesses and for households, is getting much harder as the financial system becomes more risk averse in that space.
Credit is essential.
I can give you some more anecdotal evidence here. All right, so my company, because I don't regularly use its like credit card, it basically dropped off of like so let's say we had a solid I guess balance, not a balance, amount we could use, right? And then they basically cut that in half pretty recently, and I was just like, okay, well, I guess it's a punishment for not using it or not paying them interest.
Because Americans don't have the savings to cover big expenses.
Right.
More than 40% of Americans
less than
blamed
$1,000
insufficient retirement funds or
something
emergency savings as a reason for financial insecurity.
For a lot of people, just to feel subjectively feel financially better, they need some amount of savings. A lot of financial planners will say 3 months of your income. That's, for many people, so overwhelming.
Yeah, it's not attainable.
Think about it.
More than half of Americans today said they didn't have at least 3 months of emergency expenses saved, including 22% that said they had no emergency savings at all.
It doesn't take unemployment to really knock somebody out of whack with respect to their personal finances if they're among the many Americans who say they cannot afford a $1,000 emergency expense and to pay that from their savings.
The reality is, if expenses are routinely higher than your income, you are not going to be able to put away meaningful sums. There are many, many households who do the verb of saving. You see money go into their account all the time. It just doesn't stay there. Because
it comes right back out.
They are routinely hit with a need to grab that little bit of money and use it for some kind of income shock or unexpected expense or even expected expense.
36% of Americans said they had more credit card debt than emergency savings. According to Experian, an average American holds a debt balance of $96,371.
Average
which
American.
includes several loan products like credit cards, auto loans, and mortgages. More than a quarter.
What's funny is that number is super close. I think mine is 86, I think. But it's basically all like vehicles.
Quarter of Americans said debt was what kept them from financial security.
I have no credit card
Debt is a way of channeling some of our financial resources, and that can be a very effective tool. Many of us are fans of credit cards that have rewards, for example. But if you're not paying that principal or debt off within the billing cycle, that's when those double-digit percentage interest rates hit, and that can then exact a toll on the other aspects of your personal finances.
How do we properly address this so that people cannot be in the cycle of just focusing on paying debt and necessities, but can even think about transitioning to that other 20% and creating an emergency savings, which causes financial stability, or even saving for retirement, which is the goal of creating future financial stability in retirement?
I think you would probably have to be able to not do anything, like live as meager as you possibly can, right now while you're young, right? You're not even looking at retiring for like another 20 years, 30 years from right now, right? And every single bit of extra excess money you get put into some type of like S&P 500, Pepsi, et cetera, right? Like put it into something that's going to yield a little bit more. Maybe something that gives you some dividends. Dividends are nice. They're nice, right? And I think a solid number, my financial planner had said something like $833 a month is a solid number, right? So if you could do $833 a month for basically until you're ready to retire, you'll basically be pretty good. You'll have enough money to yield a lot. But again, $833 is a number that I am not sure the masses are able to even attain. It's not something that you can just throw to the side and say, yeah, I'll never touch that. That's not a plausible thing. And I told her, I was like, this is not an okay number to say to people, if that makes any sense, right? Because after having this discussion, I said, like, listen, the way things are moving right now in the United States of America, I'm not sure that the masses are going to be able to do this. And we literally had a conversation for about an hour about how, inflation, the economy, and things like that. It was just like, what's going to happen? Like, what is going to happen with the masses, guys? Like, this is not something that's okay. But how do we get better? There are no answers. The only way to do it is, I guess, to kind of slow this capitalist society we live in. Either that or express to people that we need to stop spending on things that are irrelevant, right? Like if you think you can bypass getting that very specific thing for a little while, I'm pretty sure you can probably put that extra money you were going to waste, away for a rainy day. But this is such a disheartening thing to encounter. Like this is, and it's not just America. Keep this in mind, guys. It's basically everywhere. Guys, we made money up. Do you understand that? Like we made it up out of thin air, right? Obviously a way for those to trade goods, etc. But like we made this up, and it is plaguing us, like as a species, everywhere.
The fact that many Americans are living in financial insecurity poses a big risk to the economy as a whole.
There's a reason why we measure and monitor very closely things like consumer confidence or consumer sentiment, because what populates those data points are everyday measurements like inflation and the strength of the job market.
I think COVID really showed us that households, when they don't have a level of stability and security, are actually the primary foundation of whether the economy can be strong or not, because we are so based on consumer spending in this country.
Public policy can greatly improve Americans' chances of achieving financial security.
So, for example, Social Security is the bedrock of most people's financial security in retirement. It's not the only source of their retirement income, but it keeps a lot of older people out of poverty. And we know that Social Security needs some reforms in order to maintain its same level of benefits. And then also anything we can do to make sure that employers are offering any kind of retirement savings opportunities, emergency savings opportunities at work, offering employees any kind.
Okay, so they're putting in 724. So they're putting about 9,000 yearly, and they're matching at about 2,400. All right.
Kind of retirement savings opportunities, emergency savings opportunities.
Yeah, guys, I'm not really a fan of the 401k, guys, but
opportunities at work, offering employees the ability to enroll in benefits, whether that's health insurance or insurance for life insurance.
Like there are much better ways to kind of secure that money.
Or disability insurance. Employers are a key part of this too.
But it takes like a lot of discipline.
And public policies play a big role in terms of what employers can offer and at what price they can afford it.
The household's willingness to work toward financial security is also important.
Right.
Ultimately, the answer here is that solutions have to be arrived at the macro level as well as the household level. And so at some level, we all need to try to own our own financial success by managing our money as well as we can across the range of areas like emergency savings and retirement.
Financial advisors say the first step is to have a clear goal.
What do you want to achieve personally? What do you want to achieve at work? When do you want to retire? What do you want to do for others? And write that down.
But the key to success comes down to budgeting.
Everyone should budget. What we say is it's not what you earn, it's what you keep. And so think about and have some transparency of where is your money going. And then make sure the budget that you have aligns with the goals that you wrote down. If you say you want to retire early, are you saving more to retire early? If you want to put your children through college, if you want to be debt-free, are you paying more on your student loans? Are you paying more on your credit cards so you can be debt-free? Make sure that your budget aligns with your goals.
There are actually millions of people struggling. It's not something that people want to talk about, but if you're in a place where your financial security feels super precarious, you're not alone.
What's funny is, not really funny, but the fact that this is so common, we should all be talking about the fact that this is going on right now, guys. We absolutely just talk about it. Trust me, the person next to you understands fully, right? That's it. Just is what it is. You take the stigma away from this very specific thing. Again, guys, we made this system up,
and it's not your fault.
Many people who have really high incomes and a lot of savings still feel financially anxious. So don't feel like this is your fault or something to do with the fact that your income isn't enough. You know, we all have to deal with this in different ways. And the most important thing you can do is just acknowledge that and deal with it and not try to avoid it.
Another thing is, guys, you can live off of Social Security, like whatever. I have no idea how much they give you, but if it's like more than like, you know, $1,700, I'm almost positive you can basically live anywhere else and have a better life anywhere else. But I think the biggest problem with, I think us in America is that we're not really willing to, travel, to be honest, right? If the masses started to be like, hey, listen, I'm going to go to, I don't know, this random country where the average person is basically making maybe $500, $600, $700, $800 a month with my Social Security of $1,700, and I can rent a piece of property on the beach somewhere. Do you see where I'm going with this, guys? Right? Where the local food is going to be better because it's going to have less trans fats, no sugar, right? Less sugar, or how about this? Real sugar, right? Cane sugar. That's another thing, right? Where everything is going to taste different. Everything is generally going to be locally sourced in terms of food, right? And I can live for $1,000 and put $700 away every single month if I'm getting $1,700 from Social Security. Why are we not doing that, right? There are many countries you can go, guys. Philippines, right? Solid living, right? I mean, you just understand you're in a different place. Just make sure you know that you can't bring, your Americanisms over to places that are not uber Americanized, let's say. There are some places in Europe, like for example, Spain. I would say the average income is going to be like 1,000 to 2,000 euros, maybe on the high end. It can get higher if you're like a doctor and things like that. But if you're just living off of Social Security, guys, my first apartment was in Malaga. It was about maybe 2 minutes from walking from the Mediterranean, right? You can literally see it, right? Let's see. I think it was like 370 euros living literally in the middle of the city, in a building that was built in, I don't know, the 1600s or something like that. But it was obviously modernized, had all the things that you would require, right? So 300 and I would say about, I don't even remember anymore, bro. I would say, let's just say 350 euros, which is like maybe maybe $70 now, but back then it was like 320. The euro went up, dollar went down, right? And yes, living just like that, guys. Like I'm talking, walking out €2 pizzas, guys. The whole pizza, €2, guys, right? And living in an ancient city, like just guys, you have to understand that your money goes very far outside of the United States of America, period. And I'm not talking about, I want to go to the United Kingdom because they speak English. Guys, don't do that. That's not going to work. It's the same, basically the same as here in terms of what you're going to spend, if not more, if you're in London. If you say, I want to go live in London, then you're going to be spending like maybe $10,000 a month to live like comfortably, right? To the standards of like the United States of America, at least. And I know if you're from London, obviously you understand what I'm saying. I would say, how about this, guys? It's super similar to what you probably spend in Manhattan, but maybe more at times, guys, right? The pound is interesting like that. But yeah, there are a lot of places, guys. Just look around the world. What's the cost of living? How much does the average person make there? And you'll understand instantly that you can go to other places. You're not stuck here, bro. You're not. You have to get that out of your head, right? I know, I get it. You're American. You love America. You come back to visit if that's the case, right? Because now that you're saving so much money, you have the ability to do that whenever you desire, right? While seeing the world in your aged state, do that, right? Because with how everything is going in the United States of America, I don't see how anyone's going to be able to survive off of that, guys. And again, I have no idea what the average Social Security check is. What is the average? I guess I can just Google it. Check at, let's say, 65. The average check is between 1,700. Oh, I'm sorry, 1,544. Yeah, guys. I'm telling you, you can live almost anywhere else outside of what is considered Western, right? Some parts of Asia also, guys, just maybe not so much Japan, right? You can definitely live in mainland China, Mongolia. You could definitely move through Mongolia with that much money, bro. The Philippines, absolutely. Just absolutely. I would say the Philippines, $900, and then, yeah. And if you're like a single man, bro, $900, yeah. That's all I'm gonna say, bro. But anyway, yeah. And so like, there's a lot of things, guys. There's a lot of places you can go that you can just like move through. Maybe Lagos, Nigeria, also. Certain parts of Ethiopia, if you feel comfortable over there, super close to, Somalia and Yemen, right? But either way, but yeah, there are a lot of places you can go that your money will absolutely stretch, and just please don't get stuck, guys, right? Listen, you guys all have an absolutely amazing day and enjoy your day thoroughly.